Well, hi everybody. Thought I would update you on the Iberian Masters. Quite a lot of you have been following it on the on my Facebook page, and I've worked really hard with my web designer Barry Zimmerman to have a little bit of a rejig on the website as well. So it's all been jazzed up a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and keep you up to date once a month with what's been going on, highlights and things like that. I know that we used to do the blog weekly, but as you all know, guys who've been following me, I've got a lot going on in my family life, so it's really important for me to concentrate on that and concentrate on getting some great results in fishing. That's what I've tried to do, and that means that the blog had to suffer a bit. So I think once a month we can keep you updated. So I hope you enjoy the new website, and I hope you enjoy the videos that come on and keep you going through this next period. So let's have a little talk about the Iberian Masters. I've just been there for a few days, which a fantastic competition. I always used to follow it on Facebook. It was mainly pole dominated when I was a bit younger. It's been going for 13 years now, and I used to really enjoy watching it, and it was one of those things where I thought, wow, I'd just love to go there one day. And then last year we fished the World Club Championships on the venue where they hold it with the feeder, and I felt that was a good time to go this year, because I knew what it was all about, and I wanted to go back and try a few things that I learned from last year, and it was really exciting. Now, what you have to realise about the Iberian Masters is it's not going there and bagging up. I mean, if it was a bit warmer, yeah, you might catch a few more fish. I know last year that there was some big catches, 10, 15, even 20 carp, which is really, really good fishing. However, this year it wasn't that like that. You were looking for probably anywhere between 3 and 6 fish to do well in your section. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but you've got to remember, you lose an odd one as well. There's snags and things like that. So there is a bit of action, and it's exciting. And I think because there's only a few fish, it makes it really exciting. And sometimes in fishing, it's not all about shipping loads of fish, which is something I've done a lot of, but it's having that patience, having that setup to try and make sure you're planning where you're going to take your fish from, and then having the excitement and the adrenaline that kicks in when you hook one of these fish that pull really hard, and you know it could be the difference between winning and losing. And for me, that's what makes this event in particular so exciting. So I went with Will Freeman, who's a good friend of mine and an excellent angler, and we had a little chat beforehand. We talked about trying to keep our tackle simple. We knew the venue. Maximum width of probably any part of the river is 55 metres, and I would say the minimum is about 40. So you're looking between 40 and 35 metres casting. One thing that I had to decide upon was rods. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me about the new Superas. I haven't really spoke about rods a lot in my angling career. Preston have always done fantastic rods, and I've used them as and when I needed them. And a lot of the guys have talked there, but this 12'6" Supera that I've used over in Spain is just absolutely stunning. The action when I'm playing a fish is so good, and the casting power is really nice. I'm really, really impressed, and I'm really happy. I feel like I've found a rod that I can fish up to 70 metres with, and I can play fish, bream, carp, skimmers and those sorts of fish with them as well. And that was a really key part for me, because I needed to cast accurately, and I needed to have the power and the action to play the fish. When these fish get under your feet, the last thing you want is a rod that's really stiff in the butt. You don't want a rod that's just going to whack and feel. You want a rod that you can pull and will give for you while you're playing the fish. So I took the 12'6" Superas, and then on the reel I used the 520 Centris, and I've got 023 sinking feeder mono. This line is so unbelievably strong, it's ridiculous. For 023, I've cast in across, it sinks nice, and because the venue's quite snaggy, that's when I realised how strong the line really is, because you're pulling for a break, and no fish can break that line. It's only you literally pulling at the max to break yourself out of the snag. Because it's nice and thin, it means I could do the cast no problem at all. So that's something to look out for as well. And having that setup gave me loads of confidence. It meant that I just literally had those rods identically set up for fishing anywhere from close to the bank
to right across. So it kept everything simple for me. I didn't see the need to have shorter rods for fishing shorter, because you're fishing for carp. You get the pull and you can play the fish, and there's all rocks in the edge. You need the longer rod to keep you clear. So that was a really nice thing for me. That setup has to be married with a simple feeder rig. I just use the feeder rig that I use all the time, slight twizzle boom with a rubber stop on top, and then the hook length. I do play around with that a little bit when I'm fishing lighter hook lengths, but I tend to find that when I'm fishing for carp and I'm fishing strong hook lengths, then I can get away with that setup. So for me, there was two types of feeder. First of all, it was the distance cage. Now, I'm going to bring this in for a little close up. There, you can see. Now, what's really important about this feeder is it's got a nice small hole at the bottom. It casts nicely, and it means I can fill my sticky mag up nicely in that feeder. Works really well for me, because I can be nice and accurate with the cast, and it does the right thing for me with the sticky mag, keeps the sticky mag in my feeder, and I'm just not going to go all over the place. So that's really nice. Lots of people use lots of different feeders. I did use a plug it when I fished down the middle, like that. So effectively, when I fished down the middle, I could put maggots or worms in the middle part there nicely, and then obviously a little bit of ground bait or soil or whatever I chose to use in the outside. And the nice thing about that is when you pack that in the middle, it's all protected, it doesn't squeeze out, yet the water can still get to your ground bait. These are a really, really good feeder. So that was the two types of feeder that I used. The reason I don't use that type of feeder when fishing across at like 50 meters is I can't be as accurate as I can with this type of feeder. These feeders fly like an absolute bullet, so you can pick your spot between the trees or between rocks or whatever it is that you're casting to, and you can really hit it in there, and that for me is really important. So they were the two main types of feeders that I used. Hooks wise, we're testing some hooks at the moment, some new barbed hooks, and I was using a size 12 to 019 power line. And I do want to mention as well, on the 019 power line, I've had a lot of people say to me, oh, what line do you use for carp, or what line do you use when you're feeder fishing? I just use power line, right, because it's so unbelievably durable. Okay, so you want a really durable line that works for you and isn't going to let you down. And again, if I snagged on something and I'm pulling, the amount of strain it takes, and sometimes you'll land fish and it's frayed but it's still in one piece, and that for me is really important. Okay, if I'm only going to hook 5 fish, I've got to get them out. I've got to have reliable hooks, hook length, main line and rod, and that's exactly what I had in that situation. So I don't usually harp on too much about tackle, but when you're only hooking a few fish, I think it's really important to have that setup bang right. So that's why I wanted to mention it. My match days were quite interesting. We had right across into some rocks where the water could be as little as 5 foot deep, maybe even less perhaps. And then as you came away from the rocks, it would drop down to, I think, about 15 feet down the middle. So somewhere between this sort of shallow 5 foot and the 15 foot depth, the rocks would come down, and you had to try and find where to fish. Now, I always used to like to start pretty much in the middle of those two areas, because I felt that there was a few fish patrolling those rocks, and by starting in the middle, it gave me somewhere to go later on in the match. If I chucked right across to where it was shallow, maybe I'd be going across, nicking 1 or 2, and then my match is over. By starting that little bit away, it gave me the scope to start there, catch 1 or 2, maybe creep into the rocks, nick 1, drop back to the bottom of the rocks where there might be one nicking, you know, kicking about, so I might be able to steal one there. And that for me is really interesting, because you can then go and wander between and see what you've got. So those are the main approaches. Now, sticky mag was the best form of bait. When you're using it in a feeder, it really is dead easy to use. You only need some maggots, bit of a damp hand round the maggots once they've been cleaned, and a sprinkling of sticky mag over the top. It's not like pole fishing where you need gravel and stones. It's dead easy to use, and then you can just roll together what you need and place it in your feeder and start fishing. So that's really nice as well. So some really different types of fishing to what we're used to in the UK. My matches, well, they were exciting. The first day I caught 6 fish. I was really unlucky, to be honest, on that day, because my 6 fish went 8.8 kilos, I think. And Will Freeman, who I travelled with, he also had 6 fish, but they went 15 kilos. He won the section and I was 4th. And I got beaten by one guy who had 9 kilos, but with like 5
he might have even had 4 fish. So I was a bit unlucky in that respect. But then the following day, I had 4 fish for 11 kilos, and that was enough for second in the section. I would have been third, you know, anyway on fish count, but there was somebody with more fish than me, I think 6 or 7 fish, and they only had 10 kilos. So that was obviously my day to be a little bit lucky and nick a point there. And again, I caught some fish early by dropping down, nicked one in the middle of the match across, and I also had the option of catching an odd one late down the middle where you could put some bait in and hopefully set a trap for a fish. That took me into the last day where I was in the middle of B section. Unfortunately for me and Will, we were in the same section again. We travelled together and we were sharing, along with Tommy, we were sharing, the 3 of us, and I was hoping to avoid Will because I knew that if I beat him, potentially that could stop him winning. But fortunately, the other guy, one of the other guys in contention also was in our section. So it was really interesting. We had a good match. After 3 hours, it was looking bleak for me. Will had caught 2 fish and I hadn't had a bite. Few others in the section, either side of me were blanking, and further out they were catching a few fish. So I was a bit nervous, to be honest. I didn't want to blank. I know how easy it is to do there. So I needed to have a little rethink. I found another couple of places to cast and also fed some bait on a short line around about 15 metres. As it happened, I managed to nick a fish off both of these new lines. One on a piece of corn, one with some maggots, and that really kick-started me. I came back, nicked one on the short pole. I then took one across by resting it there, and I nicked one back on the short pole late on. Oh, I say short pole, that's how I'm referring it to. I mean short feeder, but you can understand why I'm referring to it as pole, because it's like a pole line, where I feel that bait probably goes from time to time, and fish might like to sit. So that last fish was actually 5 kilos on that short line, and my 4 other fish only went 6 kilos. So I was starting to feel really hard done by that my 4 fish were that small. I was thinking, God, I'm so unlucky, that's really annoying. And then I've had one 5 kilos. So it just goes to show a little bit of patience and a little bit of swings and roundabout in terms of how's your luck. And that was enough for second in the section, and it put me 3rd overall in the event. I had 8 points, and Will Freeman managed to come 2nd, which was great, and Tommy was 10th, so we had a nice little sharing agreement there, which was really nice, covered the cost for our trip. And the winner, I am really sorry, I can't really pronounce his name, so I am really sorry about that. If you check out the Iberian organisation, you can find out on there the winner of the event. Spanish angler, really nice lad, but I haven't caught his name, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, look, a great event, something I really enjoyed, and something that I will definitely be going back to in the future. I don't think I can go next year because there's a little bit of a clash of dates with the World Championships in South Africa, which I'm going to. So I think they're very close to each other, so I'll probably give it a miss next year. But in the future, I will be going back there because you cannot fault the organisation, you cannot fault the venue, and for excitement, when you hook those fish, it's second to none. So I hope you've enjoyed that little review there of my week at the Iberian Masters, and I'll catch up with you on the next vlog when we see what's been happening in a month's time. Thanks very much.